Hello and welcome to The Fan Show. Over the past few weeks we've been lucky enough to meet fans in all shapes and sizes. Actors, animators, cosplayers, cosmologists, Minecrafters and musicians. But recently we got to chat to a very famous fan indeed. The chap with the keys to the TARDIS, the attack eyebrow extraordinaire, the man who is who right now. Peter Capaldi. If you could revive a monster from the classic series of Doctor Who to battle with, which would you choose?
I don't know. People often ask me this. There's so many that I'm keen on. I quite like the axons, I think. Well, I often like, you see, the idea that you could, with our modern technology and makeup techniques, you can take an old monster and perhaps render them more, as has happened with Silurians and Cybermen, etc. So I think the axons would be fun because they were rather elegant kind of Grecian sort of creatures with golden faces who then became big squidgy, blobby masses. And I think they'd be very good. I like the daemons because I think they are quite creepy. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see Bulk the Demon or Azal, you know, in our modern gear. I have a great soft spot for the Zarbi and the Menoptera, as everybody knows. And I think that's really because when I was a kid, I guess it must be one of the early shows that I saw when I was young, and they really stuck in my head. And I know now when people go back and look at it, and they go, oh, they're a bit tatty, or they're a bit, you know, this, a bit that. They forget that when those shows were broadcast, there was no other way to, the shows just went out, that was it. You didn't see any photographs from them, there was no magazine, there was no DVD, you couldn't watch them again. So these things were sent out and lodged in your imagination. So in my imagination, these strange moth-like creatures with the wings and the strange sort of voices really grew, as did the Zarbi. But then years later, somebody gives you the DVD and you sit and you go, oh, yeah. And you don't want to do that. You know, I like when they exist in the imagination. Who else do I? Of course, I'm a great fan of the Mondasian Cybermen. Mostly because I like saying Mondasian Cybermen. I think that's a great phrase, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
And I like the Mondasian Cybermen because they have real hands. When I was a child, that was really, really spooky, was that they had real human hands. And I'd like to see them come back.
I love them.
Yeah.
What would you have them do if they were to come back? What's your ultimate Mondasian Cyberman story, your fantasy Mondasian Cyberman story?
Well, I think they've sort of already tried to invade the Earth, haven't they? So we couldn't have that. Although I think an Earth invasion is always my favourite story. I think the Mondasian Cybermen should be in conflict with the. We should either have some of them becoming Time Lords in some way, securing the power of the Time Lords and somehow channeling that to them so that they have access to time and space, which they've never really had before. There was something else I was going to say about that. Yes, we could have, I think it'd be good if we had Genesis of the Cyberman. I think it would be good. I think it'd be good if the Doctor, if we found the Doctor on Mondas itself, figuring in an adventure where he discovered the Cybermen actually being created, being made.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. It's raining outside.
Yeah.
There's nothing to watch on TV.
Yeah.
Which Doctor Who adventure do you pop into the DVD players to cheer you up?
From the classic series? Or
Any, yeah.
Well, I think Rose is always great. I think it's always great to see. I think Christopher Eccleston's so fabulous in that, and Billy Piper, and also the courage of sort of bringing Doctor Who back was very exciting. You know, the girl in the fireplace is fabulous. David's absolutely fabulous in that. You know, I think he's a wonderful quality of a romantic lead. About Vampires of Venice, I like very much. I think Matt's fabulous in that. He's great. He's always able to walk that line between being comic and dramatic, very nimbly. You know, he's brilliant at that. So any of those, the Rings of Akatan I like a lot. I think from the old series, there's so many there. I love the Ark in Space. I think the Ark in Space is great because I love Tom Baker with his just his hair is just like the most wildest hair ever. He's obviously, I think later on as you watch the rest of his time as Doctor Who, I think he started to get a perm or something. But in his first season, he looks more like Harpo Marx towards the end of his run. But in his first season, he's just got this absolutely mess of bohemian hair, which is about this size. It's like, what would you call it? A Tom Fro, a Doc Fro. He's got a big Doc Fro. And also his speech in that about human beings. He just takes grasp of the role of Doctor Who, in that season, in that story, so completely.
Homo sapiens. What an inventive, invincible species. It's only a few million years since they crawled up out of the mud and learned to walk.
You know, I could sit and watch John Pertwee do anything.
Me too.
I could just sit and watch him read the telephone bit. Because every time I watch him, because he's such authority, and he's a real, if you're in trouble, you want those doors to swing open and John Pertwee to come storming in, with a flap of his cape. I love the last episode of Frontier in Space. Is one of the. Do you like that?
It's one of my favourites. Yeah.
Isn't that one of the great Doctor Who stories episodes ever?
It's one of the first ones I saw actually.
Well, it's fun because you've got everything in that, but also magnificently. It was one of those episodes where you go, I don't know, is he going to regenerate now? Because it was so weird that he was knocked out, and he touches the. I think it's the first time we see the TARDIS telepathic circuits. Because he said, I'm sending a message to the Time Lord. He says like this, because he's about to keel over. But the telepathic circuits then are just like two big discs, ampometers or something like that. Whereas we have this lovely rubbery stuff that you touch now. Terror of the Autons, that's what you want to go on. Daleks Invasion Earth, any of these. Daleks Invasion Earth is fantastic. I love The Web of Fear, of course, is another fabulous Doctor Who story that has to be watched with Patrick. The Mind Robber is absolutely brilliant. Watch that if you get any time on a rainy day, because Patrick Troughton is one of the most extraordinary actors. I mean, just his delicacy, his ability to jump from being irate to being kindly and clownish.
I think we should move on to the next one.
Okay.
Let's talk about Doctor Who all day, but
it's terrible,
that's what happens when you put two fans in a room together. Okay, so last one. What do you think keeps the Doctor exploring time and space?
You mean the character?
Yeah, what keeps him motivated? It's obviously so many dangers, and what keeps him going?
Because it is the most wonderful freedom. You know, the thing about Doctor Who is everybody else has a mundane existence, no matter how spectacular their life, even my life, which is the most spectacular life I could ever imagine or have hoped for. The Doctor could escape that and go to Neptune or to the edge of the galaxy, or go to ancient Rome, or go to 5 minutes hence, or go back and see his mother or whatever. You know, it's I think what drives him is that he has the greatest toy box ever in existence available to him, and he can't stop playing with it. You know, it leads him into terrible trouble, but it is the most fascinating and wonderful and exotic toy box there is. The entirety of time and space. Who could not want to roll around in that?
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for talking to us.
You're very welcome.
It's been absolutely magical.
It's been a great pleasure talking to you too. And your hair is the best hair on television.
So is yours.
I want to know your hairdresser.